All right. Mhm. All right. Hi, Trey 4115. All right, MSL. Oyarime. Hey. Hi, guys. Hi, Dima. Hello. Hello, Alice. Hello, hello, hello. And another one. Let me stop. Hi, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't believe this is like the last series. Well, not the last live, but the last one in this Black History Month series. Oh my God. What a journey. Yes, we're just gonna wait for a couple of people. Hi, Dr. Niberia. Hi. Hi, Alice. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Hi. How's everyone doing? Can I get a thumbs up, a heart, something? Hi, Jay Himika. How's it going? Hi, Pam. Hello, everyone. All right. I feel like I don't need to do introductions, but I will. My name is, if you're new to the space, welcome. If you're a returning customer, as they say, hi, welcome back. My name is Memeduma. I am a Canadian MC, event host, voiceover artist, and I am based in the lovely city of Calgary in Canada. And welcome. If you do not know what is happening and you're just like, what's going on? Let me see. Basically, I have been doing a series this entire month, every Saturday, just in celebration of Black History Month. And I have called it or deemed it the Memeduma Spotlight, the Black Achievers Edition. And so obviously there probably will be more. Oh, hello. Thank you. She said I look gorgeous. Yes, stay warm. Yes, it's not, surprisingly, the Calgary weather today is actually great. I don't understand. Calgary weather is like chaotic. 1 minute we're like freezing, minus 20 degrees Celsius. The next minute we're like 10 degrees. So as I'm here, I'm actually sweating, but nonetheless. Okay, as I was saying, if you're new to this space, I've been doing an entire series this month, just inviting some great people, Black people of Black descent, mostly Nigerian to be fair, that have been doing amazing in their space. And I wanted to just kind of spotlight them and discuss, talk about their journey, their history, as well as, just talking about Black History Month and their impact or what Black History Month means to them and how it impacts their journey. And they happen to be my friends as well. So, I feel I should be transparent about that. But yes, why not? And so welcome. And so I'm going to be inviting my guest today, who is Dayo Okeniyi, who happens to be a Hollywood actor, who happens to also be a Niger boy from Ogbomoso. All of you from Ogbomoso, shout out. Hey, you see. Before I invite him on here, can the grand finale, I know. So before I invite him on here, can you guys just kind of give a shout out as to what city you are representing? I feel like I need to know where people are coming from. So besides Calgarians, where is everyone like streaming from or tuning in from? If you guys don't mind, just say it in the chat so I can give you guys a shout out. Rep your city. Rep your city. Oh, someone says Ogboms for life. All right, shout out to all the folks of Ogbomoso. Ogbomoso in the house. Okay, cool, 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 cool. All right, okay. I see the Okeniyi sisters are here repping Ogunu. All right, shout out to all the folks from Ogunu Wari. I see Omata has joined, fellow actor and thespian. I think this is going to be great. We have someone from Houston, Texas. We have someone from ATL. We have Brooklyn in the house, Brick City. All right. Okay. And Obama shot. Okay, we have someone from Airdrie that is in Canada as well. For those of you that are trying to figure out, Montreal in the house. Yay! Okay, so
You?
fine, so fine, Dayo. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome. Someone
Yes.
is talking about Oyo State with Amala. Oh my God, that is your sister, by the way. Uh-huh. Someone says Mars don't call. Please ignore these people that are talking in the comments. Welcome, 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 welcome. I appreciate you doing this. And so, everyone, if we could show some love to our very own Dayo. He's in the house. Yay, can we get some hearts, something in the chat? Dayo, I wanted to say thank you for coming in. I know you're busy. I know you're working. You're on set somewhere, busy, booked and busy. We love to see it. Yes, 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 yes. But I appreciate you coming on here. Let's just talk about a little bit about you and your life, your journey. And before we do that, though, I always like to talk about like how I met my guests. And so, fun story. Obviously, I mean, I knew who you were, obviously for like a while because obviously your sister's my friend.
Yeah.
And then so I had the opportunity to come to Atlanta. What was that? What was that? December 20, well, that's 2022 or 2023 for your
That was
mom's birthday.
2023.
Wow, time
Yeah,
flies. And so, yeah,
I
I had
know,
the
it's
privilege.
crazy, right? Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And so I had the honor, distinguished honor to come and host your mom's birthday party. That was such a delight, very intimate gathering.
Yeah.
And I was honored that you guys allowed me to come and be your MC for the evening. I hope she had fun.
She
To the
did.
world. Okay, we're gonna talk about PBO. Don't worry. I see your friends. Your fans are on here.
Oh, what's
All
good,
right.
bro? What's good?
All right. Right. So those of you that are new and don't know who Dayo is, first of all, shame on you. Y'all need to Google. This fine boy here is representing Ogbomoso, as I've said. But I think some people do not realize that you're also half Kenyan.
Yeah.
We cannot leave the Kenyan side out. So shout out to all the folks from Kenya, repping Kenya. This is our Kenyan Niger brother. Yes, we know our Niger men, they like to travel far for love. And this is the product, the end results, these awesome man years. So yeah. So of course, okay, someone says we know him. Good. I would hope that you know him. All right, I see the Kenyan flag being represented. Yay! Okay. So obviously, I thank you for coming to the space. I just wanted us to just kind of talk a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, all the projects that you're working on, and just basically just highlight Black excellence because you're doing amazing things. I mean, your career is not long as say like obviously the Denzels of the world, but you have accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. And also being that you're of Nigerian descent, you are now representing, you know how we claim. Once you're Nigerian, we're going to claim you whether you want it or not. So we're claiming you in Hollywood. So yes. So I mean, a little bio. I mean, I think I have to do like just a small spiel as to who you are. First of all, we need to update your Wikipedia. It doesn't say anything about Kenya. It only just talks about like Niger American. We need to put Niger, Kenyan, American. We gotta rep all cities in this place.
For real.
Okay?
For real.
Yeah.
I don't even know who like updates Wikipedia. Every day, like every other year, I go and check Wikipedia, and all of a sudden, there's new information there that I probably didn't even know about myself. But yeah, Wikipedia. Let's throw some Kenya in there. Huh?
Yes. Whoever is part of the fan club that's updating his profile, please update Kenya as well. Okay. So obviously,
You're
you're a
right.
Hollywood actor. I think your debut movie was starring in the role of Thresh in Hunger Games. And that was huge, huge. We're going to talk about all of that, how that came about. You grew up in Jos and grew up in Lagos, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. And obviously you eventually moved to the US, did undergrad there, and then you kind of just ventured into Hollywood.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. And obviously, as I said in the flyer, is that you've been cast in obviously Hunger Games, you've done Terminator Genesis, and then obviously Iwaju. Iwaju, everyone was raving about Iwaju. And so obviously we have to talk about how that came about. Yeah. And then obviously now, first of all, one of the first TV series that I found you on was Shades of Blue. Yeah. Loved that series, and I was mad as hell when it got canceled. We're gonna talk about that because I don't understand all these networks that just cancel shows. They don't give us closure. We're now just having trauma that the show just ended and we don't have like a conclusion to the characters. But anyways, so yes, so welcome. And obviously, guys, if you have any questions for Dayo, please feel free to kind of just put it in the chat, and I will make sure that I get to it. Okay, so right off the bat, let's just talk about how did you get into acting? Because obviously, Niger parents, doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant. So I really am curious as to how you were able to convince your parents that, I mean, obviously you got your first degree. So usually that's like your gift to your parents that, okay, I'm giving you one degree. And then after that. But can you just talk about like, how did you know that you loved acting? What was the moment that you realized that, you know what, I want to be an actor?
Yeah. First of all, man, thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you for doing this. This is incredible. It really, truly is an honor to be here with you on this platform. Thank you, everyone who's watching.
Thank you.
Saturday, people could be doing a bunch of different things. So the fact that
I know
cutting out time to be here is incredible. But yeah, for me, acting, like, was one of those things where it was just pure love. You know what I mean? Like growing up, I was always involved in theater of some kind, or being on stage, or dancing, or rapping, or whatever it may be.
Rapping.
I just always loved the arts. Yeah, yeah, you heard me. You heard me right.
Is there a video floating around that we can watch of you rapping?
I'm sure there's stuff out there. If you sleuth YouTube well enough, you'll find some. So by
Okay.
2006 rapper career, that didn't quite go anywhere.
Okay.
But yeah, but I always loved the arts. You know what I mean? Even like fine arts. You know, I always drew. I always painted. Like that was always really where I felt the most comfortable. And of course, you know, growing up in Nigeria, it's not quite. It is celebrated now. You know what I mean? I think there's been such an explosion of art and music and film. But growing up then, it was just something you do for fun electively. But you're right. You graduate and you do something more serious with your life, whether it's finance or you know medicine or engineering or whatever Nigerian parents deem to be worthy of. But yeah, I always just love telling stories. I love being on stage. Any opportunity there was in elementary school or in secondary, you know, primary school, as we'd say in Nigeria, I jumped at it. You know, and I think having a mother who was an English literature professor also helped me in that direction.
Got it.
So I've always loved acting. I always loved performing, and the truth is, like, I didn't quite have stereotypical Nigerian parents in that way, you know, and I think that was very fortunate for me. You know, my mother was and still is 100% go for it. That's one of her favorite phrases: go for it, you know. So anytime I, you know, bucked the courage to just whisper what my dreams were, she never shut it down. She was always all for it. And my dad will say now, if you've met my father, right? He would say, that when Dayo said he wanted to go to Hollywood, I was asking myself, what's this Hollywood? What's this? But he never said it to me. Honestly, my father never told me directly, don't go and do any of this. You know, but he would go and tell my sisters, he would go and tell, you know, Ronke or me behind my back, or my sister Buki, or my mom, this Dayo, is he okay? You know, should we try to go and talk to him? You know, he tried to send emissaries to come around. Yeah. Maybe he didn't want to be the bad guy, you know, but he never said it to me. And I think, you know, having family as the wind beneath your sails is everything. So when they're Nigerians who say, you know, I went into the arts and my parents like basically disowned me. You know, that's tough. Yeah. You know, but I can't relate with that. I really cannot relate with that. You know, everyone in my family just kind of supported me. And if they didn't say it to my face. So thank you guys for crushing my dreams to my face. But I've just always loved it. And even till today, I still can't believe that I have the opportunity to do things that I've done. You know, especially like you say, in such a short period of time. It's insane. It's crazy. So it's still news to me. You know what I mean?
Let's not kid ourselves. It's God. We know. I mean, I know that.
100%. I think there was a moment in university when, you know, I was supposed to come back to Nigeria after school and do the NYC thing and, you know, really buckle down. And I was starting to wrap my head around that. But at the same time, I was kind of like, God, you know, that itch to go to Hollywood and pursue film was getting very, very strong. And I remember having very serious prayers and just saying, God, you know, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm not a Hollywood person. I don't know agents or managers or anybody in the business. Literally nothing. I have no connection with Hollywood whatsoever. But I said, God, you know, if this is for me, send me a sign. Like, show me a path. And if it's, you know how they always say, like, all you have to do is just believe God you don't have to see the whole journey. You just have to see the next.
Of course.
Or, you know, if you can just show me the next few feet every single day, I'll just follow you. You know, and the next thing I knew, I applied for OPT and I got OPT so I could stay in America longer. And then we had started the process to become Americans. And I mean, at that point, I was 12 years in, and, you know, it's such a long process. And then next thing I knew, they were like, oh, Dayo, you're next in line for your interview. So literally, I had OPT for like 2 weeks and then became an American, which is crazy.
Hold up. Wait, what?
Yeah.
What? So,
yeah.
So those of you that don't know, because I went to school in the US, so I applied for OPT twice for undergrad and grad school. So basically your OPT, for those of us in Canada, it's the equivalent of your work permit, but it's usually valid for like 1 year. And after 1 year, it's like, oh yeah, you're out. Obviously, that's why I left. That's why I'm here in Canada. So for you to have OPT just for 2 weeks and you switch status, insane. I have never heard it because I
I,
know I thugged it out for
yeah.
undergrad, no job, went back to school.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the struggle for immigration stuff in the States is real, but I mean, that's amazing that you were able to get your status switched. And I think if I were you, I would have taken that that's the sign that I needed from God. You said you were asking God for a sign. That was the sign you were looking for,
Yeah.
buddy. So,
There wasn't a louder sign. That was the loudest sign possible because I got the OPT and I was like, wow, okay, maybe I'll, I went to college in Indiana. So I was like, maybe I'll stay in Indiana for a while,
mhm.
get a job, because OPT, you have to then, I think after you get OPT, you have about 90 days to secure employment, which is crazy because with most people, you have to secure the employment first and then have your boss advocate for the OPT on your behalf. Almost like right. So I applied for OPT without a job and got it.
First of all,
That's one.
yeah,
So
that's
then
amazing because
two,
it switched. Yeah.
right then I'm asking myself, okay, man, I need to get this job so that I can lock it in. I think I think it's about 90 days
Yeah.
to secure employment. So then God goes, this boy, you're not serious. Okay, here's the citizenship. What do you do now? And so I was like,
Wow.
I gotta move to LA, and then literally went to my alumni program in LA and in college and went through the list of people who live in LA who are in the film business. And there are about 4 or 5 people, and I just contacted each and every single one.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, listen, I want to try to get into film. I want to be an actor. I'm going to be in LA for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And I'd just like to meet with you guys. I'm not asking for miracles, don't give me an agent or anything, but any advice you can give me on where to start would be great.
Okay.
And there was a guy, his name is Marcus York. He's since passed away. Rest in peace, Marcus. But I flew out to LA for 2 weeks, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for a roommate. The rent is $700. We'll be
Okay.
sharing the place with
In LA? $700 in LA?
mine, Alex Davis, who's actually on this call, who's on this
Yes.
slide right now. Alex, shout out to Alex, man.
Okay. Hi, Alex.
So I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment in LA with the three actors, and my side of the rent was $700, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this $700 a month, but I gotta go. And then proceeded to write my parents the longest email, basically telling them that this is something I have to do. Just give me 1 year. If you give me 1 year, I'll go to LA, I'll scratch that itch, and then I'll probably move back to Nigeria, get married, have 6 kids, and work at Access Bank and tell people that, I tried, kind of a thing. And long story short, I know we don't have that much time, but yeah, I booked the Hunger Games in that year, that 1 year. Which is
That
crazy.
year, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So, but prior to this, had you actually got, like, besides like doing plays in like primary school or like high school or middle school, did you actually have like formal training to be an actor?
No. I learned on the job. I did a lot of theater
Wow.
before becoming a screen actor, and it was just from. I always say I'm the original Nepo baby because the first play I ever did in my life was when I was in the 5th grade, and my mom cast me as Joseph in the Nativity. So shout out to mom for giving me
Shout out to
my
Monkey.
first lead role, But yeah, so that was kind of what started everything for me. And then I went to Green Springs in Lagos, Green Springs School, Lagos, and we always had like a big Christmas play, and so I would always find myself writing something for the play or performing something. I really shout out to Green Springs because they made the kids, we produced the Christmas play every year,
Okay.
which is crazy, So coming to Hollywood, I go, oh my, I can produce, I can direct something because growing up, we just did it, you know what I
That's
mean?
amazing. Yeah.
Of course, we had our music teacher, Mrs. Todd, and things she would kind of facilitate, but we really said what we wanted the play to be. So a lot of that was I would say, as formal training as possible. I remember when I was in college, my senior year of college, I pretty much completed all my credits, but I had like free time. So my best friend and I, Alex Davis, we decided to take acting 101.
Okay.
And that was really reignited the passion, I had an acting teacher who was like, Dayo, you're not in a theater kid, are you? I was like, no, I'm not in a theater program. I'm in visual communications design because I was going to go into advertising. That was what my life was going to be.
Okay.
And he was like, okay, cool. But he's like, if there's any part of you, this is a direct quote. He said, if there's any part of you that wants to do this thing for real, you're not. You can, if you want to pursue this, you can do it. Man, you never know the little thing you can say to somebody that could really shift the course of that person's life. Because you can always question yourself. Man, am I insane? Is this crazy? But yeah, he told me that, and that was so motivating for me. And then,
Awesome.
eventually broke with my parents and moved to LA. And I remember I've been in LA for a year and nothing had happened. And I remember I was going to this church in LA called Bel Air Presbyterian.
Okay.
And it was during Lent. I just want to tell this to get the story out of the way because it's so important.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And it was during Lent of that year. This was 2011. And it was during Lent. And I realized I'd never done Lent voluntarily. It was always something that my parents would do, and they say, don't eat till 6 o'clock while fasting, you know. So throughout the day, I tried to sneak like some chin chin or something. You know?
Hey.
But I realized I'd never done Lent, and I had come to my wits end. I was probably like a month away from, okay, that's it, and there's no money to pay this rent. I have to move back home. Back to Nigeria, and we got to church and they were handing out these pamphlets, which I still have today. It was a 40-page pamphlet, right? So each page was a devotional and a reflection. And the pastor just saying, you know, we're really asking God for breakthroughs. We're asking God for breakthroughs. LA is the city of, you know, they say the boulevard of broken dreams, you know, and he's like, you know, there are a few folks out there where your turning point starts today. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this Lent thing. And I said, God, this is it. If it doesn't happen now, nothing really is going to happen. And I've been in LA for a year. And so I started Lent. And Ismail, I promise you, and anybody out there who's listening to this, this is my testimony. This is where it really starts. I started this Lent. I still have the book till today. So
that's amazing.
I'll show you the book. I still have the book today, and we started a Lent program. When I started Lent, I didn't have an agent, didn't have a manager, I wasn't in the Screen Actors Guild, which is the union. So to do the big movies at Warner Brothers, Universal, Disney, you need to be a union actor. I didn't have any of that.
Wow.
Day one of Lent, I started this program. I remember I went to this acting class that a casting director called Matthew Berry was throwing. So I was going to this other acting class in LA with an actor named Jeffrey Tambor. He's since canceled, but go read about that. But he basically said, look, there's this casting director named Matthew Berry. He's looking for fresh new faces. You guys, and in our acting class there was about 40 of us. It was a big group. And so I said, okay, cool, I'll go. And he gave us some audition material. He's like, learn this material, and Matthew would like to see you guys perform. Out of the 40 people in that acting class, only 3 of us showed up.
What?
And I remember Matthew Berry going, you know, let's wait an extra 20 minutes. Maybe some more people will come. And nobody came. It was just 3 people. And he was a little bit irritated and upset. Like, oh,
why?
I don't know. Till today, I don't know. And then out of the 3 people who came, I was the only actor who was off book. Off book, for those of you who don't know, is like, you know the material without looking at the sheet.
Right. Niger.
I mean, that's just Niger work ethic, right? But what I'm trying to say is, I didn't even have to be the best actor. I just had to show up and just do the minimal amount of I've memorized my lines. I performed for him, and it was a really good audition, I think. And he said, Dayo, you're really great. There's some things that I'm auditioning right now. You know, who's your agent? I said, Chama, there's no agent. This agent. What's up? And he looked at his assistant, a guy named Philippe Frega. Philippe is still out there. Philippe, I love you till the end of time, because he looked at Philippe and he said, this guy doesn't have an agent. And they were kind of like shocked. He said, Dayo, that's going to change very quickly. And And I was like, wow. And he was like, yeah, just look for my email. And so I left, and I'm on a high, because at this point I'm like, wow, like is this Lent thing working? Like, God, what is this? You know, like, but this is funny. God will give you miracles, and you'll still talk it down. You say, no, it's just coincidence or kind of thing. But Dayo, just calm down or whatever. And then, you know, a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, nothing happens. I'm still doing the Lent. And then I get a call from my current manager right now. Her name is Kanaka Sui. Kanaka has repped me since the beginning of my career. She calls me. She's like, hey, is this Dayo? And I say, yeah. She's like, hey, this is Kanaka Sui with Sweeney Entertainment. She's no longer with Sweeney anymore. But she's like, you know, I got a call from a friend of mine, Philippe, who raved about whatever it is you did in this acting class.
Oh my God.
She said, is it okay? Would you like to come into our office? I said, is it okay? I'm coming now.
What time? I'm there.
Yeah, so she was like, you know, you should come into the office and meet with me and my other partner, David Sweeney, and let's just meet with you. And then I went and I met with her. I remember I didn't have a car in LA, so I had to take a series of buses. Alex and I were living in Venice, California, and if you know LA, public transportation in LA is terrible. So I got on about a series of 4 to 6 buses. I left the meeting was like at 12. I had to leave my place in Venice at like 4:30 a.m. to make a 12 p.m. meeting because of the amount of random buses I had to get. They were like somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. And then it rained that day. I'm like, the devil was after me because I literally got to their office. I had like a little briefcase that I was holding on my
Not
head, drenched.
the briefcase, sir. Not the briefcase.
I'm telling you, drenched, because I thought I was being serious. I thought, my dad carried a briefcase when I was a kid, and he always looked like a serious person. So I was like, I'll carry a briefcase. No other actors carried a briefcase. Stupid. But anyway, the briefcase kind of saved my life a little bit because I'm holding the briefcase in my head. I'm ringing their doorbell, and I'm wet.
Oh my God.
But I just said, Dayo, man, you just have to have supreme confidence. Like at this point, have supreme confidence. I didn't have, there's a thing called an acting reel, which is basically like all your performances.
Like a demo, right?
Yeah, like a demo. I didn't even have a demo. I didn't have a demo. I had headshots and that really was it. And then a bunch of like credits from college that don't really matter. And so Konica opened the door. She's like, oh my God, you're soaking. I acted like I wasn't cold or wet. I mean, I acted like nothing. I was like, hey, Dayo, nice to meet you. And they were like, do you need a towel? Like, they were like, what's going on, bro? And so I was like, oh, no, it's nothing. It's just some rain. And I sat down, supreme confidence. Of course, inside, I'm nervous as hell, but just supreme confidence. And they were like, Dayo, tell us about yourself. And I'm like, my name is Dayo. I'm Nigerian. My father is Kenyan. My father's Nigerian. Mother is Kenyan. I grew up in Nigeria. Basically, what I'm telling you now, I've loved acting. I've loved performing. I talked about my favorite films. I talked about my favorite actors. And just my enthusiasm for storytelling and for film and stuff. And midway through the story, David stopped me. He said, I'm going to stop you right there. He's like, I like you. And he looked at Connor and he said, we like him, right? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, you know what, Dayo, we'll test you for a while. We'll send you on some stuff. We'll see how you do. And if it's a good relationship, then we'll probably sign something. Okay. I'm on cloud 1,000 at this point. I'm like, wow, just so to be, because I looked at the actors they represented, and they represented some serious people. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. I go back home. My boy Alex, who's still here, I see you in here. Alex, what's up, bro? I said, Alex, man, they said that they want to try me for a while and see what happens. He's like, no way, we're high-fiving. We didn't even have money. I think we went to 7-Eleven and bought sandwiches. That was the level of like our celebration. We had no money, right? So I go there, and then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. Nothing. They don't call me, don't email me, no nothing. I'm sitting there going, Alex, what happened, bro? He said, Dayo, tell me in the meeting what happened. What did they say? What did they say exactly? We went over that meeting, 100 times. Because I was like, bro, they said that they liked me. They said they were going to send me on some stuff. Nothing. Anyway, I'm going to church at this point, right? We're doing the Lent. I'm like, this is crazy. And I'm writing all of this in this book. And then one day I get a call from Konica. He's like, hey, Dayo, how you doing? Oh my God, so sorry. It's pilot season. So we've been really, really busy. Stuff that we're going to send you on. There's this thing called the Hunger Games. You're not going to book it, okay? But we know the casting director, Deborah Zane, very well. We want you to go in and just read for her. We want to see if you're seasoned enough to audition. I said, okay. You're not going to get it. We're letting you know you're not going to get it, but just go in. He said that? They did. But I didn't care. I just wanted them to sign me. I just wanted to do a good enough job that they would sign me. So I go into this audition and I read for Deborah Zane. And the audition for Hunger Games was 1 page. Shout out to my boy Alex, man. Alex and I read that 1 page almost 300 times. Just again, right? So I go in and I read for Deborah Zane, and there was a way she looked at me. And I've actually never told people this because it feels too cocky. And so I always take it out of the story. But when I left that room, I was like, I just booked this movie. I just knew it. And I remember I went home, and in my Lent journal, I wrote, I'm going to be in the Hunger Games. I swear to you. And then I didn't hear anything. Didn't hear anything for a week, 2 weeks, nothing. They then sent me on a couple of other auditions. I auditioned for Glee. I auditioned for I auditioned for Glee. I auditioned for like CIS wherever, a bunch of like TV procedurals. And I actually got really bad feedback on those auditions. Those people told my manager, Konica, ooh, he's green, he's green. He needs to take some classes and work on his auditioning. And I was like,
Okay.
I was like, what? Of course, I'm talking to Konica. I'm like, yeah, sure. Just send me whoever, you know, whatever teachers, and I'll take whatever. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I got this Hunger Games thing. I got it. And then I remember I called Yemi, and I was talking to my family, and I was like, hey, they're like, how's it going? And I said, you know, I just auditioned for this thing called the Hunger Games, and Yemi was like, you know, Yemi be reading everything. She's like,
Yes, she is. Yes.
you ready for the Hunger Games? And I was like, yeah. She's like, Dayo, oh my God. You know, so she then got me very excited about it. It's 3 days till the end of Lent. I get a call from Konica and David, my managers. They're like, Dayo, can you come into the office? And I go, yeah. So I go to their office and they go, hey, so here's a contract. Basically, it's not exclusive, but it just basically says anything that we we book for you, we get 10% of, which is industry standard.
Okay.
I didn't even read it. Thank God they didn't. Thank God they were not trying to screw me over, because it is.
I'm like, stop. You're supposed to have lawyer look at your contract.
I did not. I signed that thing.
It was God that helped you.
After I signed it, they were like, so you're being pinned by Lionsgate for the Hunger Games, meaning it's down to about you and 3 or 4 other people.
What?
So you're gonna go into Gary Ross's house and you're gonna screen test for the movie. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Meanwhile, during Lent, because I'm running out of money, I had applied for a job at Apple to be an Apple genius at one of their locations in Santa Monica.
Okay.
So that job is moving forward, right? I've done about 4 or 5 interviews at this point. I need a job, bro. So that thing is happening. And so when I get this call from Konica that I'm being pinned for the studio, about maybe 2 hours after that, I get a call from Apple saying, hey, Dayo, you got the job. We want you to go to Cupertino, which is like the Apple headquarters, and they'll do orientation for the job. And I'm like, I can't, because I gotta go test for this movie, right? So I called the recruiter at Apple and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't have Hunger Games at this point. I did not. But I called her and I said, I'm so sorry. I can't take the job. I can't go to Cupertino. An opportunity has presented itself that I just can't pass up on. And she was irritated with me. She actually said this on the phone call. She said, Dayo, do you know it's harder to work at Apple than it is to get into Stanford. You know that, right? She said that on the phone. I said, Madam, I don't know what to tell you.
Don't be annoyed.
I can't go. I have to stay and do this test. And so it was a Friday. I was supposed to go in for this test on a Friday. My boy Alex, who was working at Radio Shack at the time, he comes home. We work on that audition over again. And then Friday, they call me and say, oh, sorry, Dayo, Gary can't be with you today. He's going to be with you on Monday. That Friday is Good Friday, right? So Good Friday, I get the call that he can't be with me. Now I'm going, oh no, something's up. I'm getting effed over somehow, right? So Saturday comes, Sunday comes, Monday morning, I'm getting ready to go on this audition. My boy Alex and I, we pray. He goes to work. He's like, Dayo, you're gonna do great in the test. All this stuff. We said a little prayer, and then he went to work. So I'm at home. I took a shower. I'm literally naked, looking in the mirror, and I'm practicing my lines for the Hunger Games. And then I get a call from David and Konica, and they're like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And I'm like, very low energy on the phone. They're like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And they were like, Dayo, we're so sorry, the test got canceled. They found their guy. And I was like, whoa. But the second part of my brain kind of lit up, because I felt like they signed me. I need to project strength. I need them to know that I know how to handle heartbreak very well as well. So when they were like, Dayo, I'm so sorry, it looks like the test was canceled. It's no longer going forward. I said, oh, okay, cool. What about the CIS? I moved on the call very quickly. I said, what about CIS? How's that going? And they were like, well, yeah, you're still in the running for that. I was like, all right, cool. We'll try and get that one, or the Glee thing or something else. Okay. And they were like, ah, did you not hear what we said? Like, the test was canceled. Like, how do you feel? And I was like, well, I gave it my best. I know I gave it my best. So, we just.
That's what it is.
Move. And then I hear Konica on the line. She probably doesn't think I can hear her, but she's going, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say? And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And then David goes, Dayo, you're no fun. And I said, what? He's like, listen, the reason why they canceled the call is because Gary Ross called us and said, we don't need to test him. He got the part.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Lord,
so
we should be playing rough play like that. My heart was already like.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it was insane. And I remember just like being on the phone, and I remember just going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And they said, Dayo, you're not in the Screen Actors Guild. Don't worry about it. Lionsgate, the studio is going to Taft-Hartley you into the union. Taft-Hartley basically means they'll pay your dues, because the dues are expensive. I mean, it was like they'll pay for you to get into the union. So that's how I got my union card on the Hunger Games as well. So I get off the phone, and there's nothing. I don't know what to do. Like, I get off the phone and I sit there, and then, by the way, they're like, you can't tell anybody on the face of the earth. You can't tell anybody. But the good thing about it is, they told me the news is going to break. You got cast. They're going to break the news in about 2 hours at noon. So don't tell anybody. But as soon as the news breaks, you can tell whoever it is you want to tell.
Okay.
I didn't even have anybody to celebrate. I sat down in my apartment and I just said thank you God over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then my boy Alex came back from work. Alex, sorry man, I gotta tell them the story. My boy Alex came back from work and he comes in and I'm sitting in the room and he's like, because I'm supposed to be at the test when he comes back from work. So when he came back and sees me in the apartment, he's like, bro, what happened? And I was like, nah, man, they canceled the test. He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, bro, I basically pulled on him what my manager pulled on me.
Exactly.
Like, said, nah, man, apparently they found their guy. He's like, bro, what the fuck? He's going crazy. What the fuck? What did this man? They don't know what these guys don't know what they're doing, man. Like, that's my dog, man. He's like, they don't know what they do. Da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, man, the news even broke. Like, the news broke. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, if you go on Yahoo Movies, I'm like, the news is out there. The cast. And he gets out his computer, right? He pulls the computer out and he goes like that. And he just came over and like gave me the biggest hug. See him in the comments. He said, "Try to kill me." LOL. So he just gave me the biggest hug, and he was like, "Bro."
Oh my God.
And then now we're like, "What's gonna happen? When are you gonna go to North Carolina? Because we filmed in Nashville and all this stuff." And then it was just insane. And then because Hunger Games was so big, CNN broke that I was cast in this movie at BBC. Like, it was so crazy, man. And then my managers were basically like, you know what, Dayo, let's start taking meetings. And I mean, the next week it was meeting with the heads of Universal, Warner Brothers, Lionsgate, Paramount Pictures. I've not even shot a frame of this movie.
Wow.
Just based off of the fact that a press release has come out that you're going to be in it, all of a sudden, people that you've been trying to get meetings with for the whole year, they want to meet you. They just want to, what's so special about this person? Why did they cast you? So I took a whole
God thing, man. It's a God thing.
It was insane. And then, the rest is history. Went to North Carolina, shot that movie, and then, the very next year it came out. But I remember, I got the Hunger Games on Good Friday. So from the beginning of Lent to the end of Lent, I got a manager and booked my first studio movie in 40 days.
Listen, everybody, this Lent, somebody has put that it's March 5th. Please, let's be serious this year with Lent. Yeah. Let's not play with Lent this year. Because what?
Yes,
that is insane. But first of all, we need to give a shout out to Alex. Alex is a real one. Bro. He's a real one, real MVP from praying. If you don't have a praying friend, you don't have a real friend. You need friends that will pray into you, with you. Shout out to Alex for being a real one. Shout out to your family as well for holding you through, because I'm sure those days of you were soaking Gary certain days, and shout out to parents or family that were like, let me support you.
Yeah, because you have to project strength. You just had to. Those years there was just struggle, and I'm happy that Alex is on here because I think sometimes people only see the victory, and then and I'm aware, my story is very unorthodox. People don't just go to LA and become an actor in 1 year, and you're literally the biggest thing as well, arguably. So I do know that my story was very condensed. A lot of people go 7-8 years to get to that point. So I just know God, and it was having, being able to go home and family's looking at you like, is Dayo okay? See, or what's he doing in that LA? And you just want to, you kind of want to sell them on the dream. But as you're telling them your dream, you're selling yourself on the dream as well. And yeah, it just kind of happened. But yeah, having Al as well was amazing because every audition I had, he would even read with me. So he would prep me for Hunger Games. Many things I got, Spectacular Now, he prepped me for that. Every role I got pretty much from 2012 to 2014, Alex prepped me for, including Shades of Blue. So he was always there on my journey, man, and actively helping me. So I just had a lot of, God sent me the right angels in my life that helped me at every step of the way in making my dreams come true. But the idea that you're going to feel 100% ready, or the idea that you're going to know exactly what steps to take, that's not, God is a God of faith. You have to just be trusting every single day.
Absolutely.
Do what you can. And then when that door opens, go. Don't think about it. Don't second guess it. Go. If He's put something in your heart, it's there for a reason. You know what I mean? And so that's my story. And then everything happens from that. You get the Hunger Games. I get signed by UTA, which is my agency. Then it's Terminator and Shades of Blue and, Spectacular Now, Fresh, Rise, Emperor, Iwaju, and then now Dark Matter. Everything, it just snowballed into all of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, true.
That's just an amazing, and like I said, the trajectory is such a short time frame, but a lot has happened. And I think, you've already said it yourself, like you had a huge support system, because we already know that Hollywood can be vicious and it can eat you up and spit you out. But the fact is that you had, like I said, Alex, you're a real one. I don't know what you look like, but shout out to you. And we are spotlighting you as well, because you were part of this journey. But just having support, like friends and family that help ground you, because to be honest, you haven't gone to Hollywood on us that we can't, obviously you're here, but the fact is you've had real support. And I think that's really what's just been so instrumental in your journey. In addition to obviously your faith, you have to have some audacious, big faith for you to say, I'm just going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to turn down a job from Apple.
Yeah.
People do 50 rounds of interviews to get into tech companies. And you're saying, Apple, peace, I'm out. So the fact that you did that, you have to have the faith of I can't even describe it. And I'm just happy that all of that has panned out. And your life is literally a testimony, this journey that you've been on. And I know there's a couple of people here that are in the movie business as well. And I'm hoping that they're taking some of these nuggets and understanding that, you know what, you have to have some kind of faith, something that's going to hold you down. And Alex is saying, thank you all. Dayo and I are brothers. I just do it a good shout out to people that are friends, that are family, that are not just friends, but they're family. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, that essentially was the journey. And listen, there were heartbreaks along the way, and Alex can testify. There were roles that we went up for and we really thought we were going to get it, and you don't get it. And you learn something about failure. You learn something about preparation, Another thing I wanted to talk about was, in achieving any endeavor in life, I always liked the movie Slumdog Millionaire. In principle, it's about a kid from the slums who goes on this millionaire show and wins money, and he is able to answer every question based off of his life experience, not because he's a genius or a scholar or whatever, but he was lucky enough, but also prepared that everything he went through in life gave him the answer for every question on the show, right? And in a weird way, I think back on my journey, and it's that's really how it was. You know what I mean? An example would be, my sister Buki kind of weirdly, she probably doesn't even know this, but weirdly gave me an appreciation for film. Growing up, she was one who always bought the VHSs. You know what I mean? She loved comedies. You know what I mean? Whether it was Zoolander or all those weird comedies we used to watch growing up. And then me, my other sister, kind of gave me an appreciation for science fiction and fantasy. I remember I saw Harry Potter with her for the first time, and Lord of the Rings, which is one of my favorite trilogies. She kind of gave me an appreciation for that. And then my sister Ronke, Alice, taught me how to study. I remember being in high school and I had a big exam and I was just falling asleep and I was tired and I didn't want to study for this exam. And she was like, okay, Dayo, listen, you can go to sleep now. Ronke talks very calm. You can go to sleep. But tomorrow, you wouldn't know anything in that exam. But you can study now. Tomorrow you'll be dying asleep, but at least you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that stuck with me. So even in preparing for my auditions, like with Alex and I, we will prepare till we're falling asleep reading the material. So the next day in the audition, I might be tired, but I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And having a mother who was a lover of prose and story, and you know, being a British literature teacher, you know, there's a romanticism we have about storytelling. And having a father who, you know, as a Nigerian dad, very alpha male, this is how you take care of your money, this is how you manage. So everybody in my life, they might not know it, but they all played a part in creating the person that I am, that's able to see opportunity and jump on that opportunity. So everyone in my family played a role in where I am today, honestly. You know what I mean? And even my cousins in Kenya, you know, my cousin Tyrone in Kenya is the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. We go over there and watch Lord of the Rings continuously, you know, and things like that. So, yeah, I think in life sometimes we think, you know, you ask Dayo, you're not formally trained, you know what I mean? But, you know, life trained me. I think being that's what's specific to my career path as an actor is to be a great actor, you have to have life experience. Because life experience, you can pull from that experience to all the different characters you get to. So don't underestimate where you're starting from. You have more experience for the jobs that are out there for you than you know, kind of a thing, you know. But yeah, that's a true story. Full circle moment. I'm actually on a TV show called Dark Matter now by Apple. So.
Oh yeah. So you still ended up working for Apple, just in a different,
capacity.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
No, that is amazing. Shout out to the Okeniyi family. And yeah, I mean, like you said here, just doing the work, showing up, practice, being prepared. I think that's a key thing. Like those are the things that have really kind of helped you in your career. So we're talking about auditions now. What's an audition? I don't know if you can tell us, but what's an audition that was like really memorable to you that you didn't get, but then after seeing the person that got it, you're like, you know what? I think it went to the right person.
Oh my God, most of the time it's all of them. The truth is, like, everyone is talented in Hollywood. Everyone is great. You know what I mean? And I think what happens is I'll answer this in two folds. The first part that's funny to me is, you know, some project will come out, whether it's, you know, Black Panther or, you know, Coming to America or something, and I'll have friends text me like, "Damn, bro, why your agents didn't put you in this?" You know, and I'm like, "Bro, you think we didn't try? You think we didn't try? You think you're sharp and you're telling us information that we don't know."
You auditioned for Black Panther?
Everything. I auditioned for Black Panther, right? So with Black Panther specifically, I didn't audition for T'Challa for the Black Panther. Like Kevin Feige and Marvel, they went straight for Chadwick. He was their first choice. No one auditioned for that. They went to him and he got that. So you know that was his prize from God directly. But there were other roles in the movie that I definitely auditioned for. I auditioned for Daniel Kaluuya's part.
Shout out to Daniel Kaluuya.
And I didn't get it, but yeah, there's so many. I mean, the one that always comes to mind, and I think it comes to mind because it was very key in letting me know, oh, sometimes you don't get the part, not because you're not good, but you're not necessarily the right fit, right? Right after Hunger Games, I auditioned for 42. There was a movie called 42, which was the Jackie Robinson story.
That went to Chadwick as well.
And I mean, I was super prepped for that role. I super prepped for that role. But at the time, I think I was 22. I was 22 years old.
Very young.
Chadwick was already in his like 36. Chadwick is my age now. And audition, it got down to just the two of us. And Chadwick got that part. And I remember being very sad about it. I mean, shout out to Alex again. Alex and I were so certain that I was going to get that part. And when the movie came out, remember I was going, oh yeah, like he has lived. Chad, rest in peace. He's lived. And there's some places he's able to go with performance that Dayo at 22, you just can't quite go.
We're not there.
You have to be like a husband to Nicole Bahari's character. You have to have children and bear the weight of, you know, the racial profile of America in the 1960s. I'm not even American, I'm Nigerian. You know, there's a part of coming to this country that America will let you know very quickly that you're black. It will let you know your place. But at that point, Chadwick lived that. So there's a part of it like, well, I get why they went with this guy. And I remember, like, even in our prep, Alex and I were like, Dayo, do you want to just do it as you? You know what I mean? There's always an interesting crossroads where you're playing a character that is a real person. Sometimes mimicking that person's voice, cadence, walk, everything is distracting. Sometimes just play it straight. And especially if it's a character that we don't all know so well. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people that are so iconic. Like, if you're going to do a biopic on Denzel, you have to act like Denzel.
Of course.
We all know how he looks, walks, and all that. But someone like Jackie Robinson, there's very few footage of him talking. And so Alex and I, we went full on. I did the voice. He's a very masculine guy, but he has a very high-pitched voice.
Oh.
So we did all that. And then I saw Chadwick in the movie. Chadwick did not try to emulate it. He created a cinematic portrayal of Jackie, and I was like, oh, that's the right way to go. It's not distracting. People watching and they just focus on the character. They're not listening to the high-pitched voice or all this other stuff. And then he was just older. And that's where I was like, oh, okay, Dayo, you're good. Don't feel bad when you don't get the part. Somebody is just, they are in a place in their journey where they're ready for that. And Chadwick was ready for that. You know what I mean? So that was one of the ones that always comes to me. Whenever I don't get something, I'm like, they picked that other person because it's their time, or they have some certain life experience that the camera intangibly is just picking up on. You know what I mean?
Of course. That's amazing. 42 was a really good movie, and I mean Chadwick. I mean, he is missed. He definitely left. He left a gap in the industry as well. But I mean, hey, there's other people that are upcoming. I mean, we have yourself, obviously. So who knows? You're about to fill in the gap that's missing. I'm excited to see your trajectory and your journey. I guess let me just ask, like, for you, in terms of choosing the roles, because obviously it's not we just talked about now, like there's certain roles that are meant for you. And so in selecting the movie roles that you get, what is your thought process, or what are some of the elements that you look for that make you say, I don't know if this movie is really for me. I'm going to have to turn it down.
Yeah. I mean, I've now been doing this for, 12 years, 13 years. Time flies. But I've been doing this for over a decade now, and I'm fortunate to get to a place in my career where I'm starting to have some choice. And that happened somewhere around, like, I would say the first 5 projects, you just want to work. You just want to show what you can do. There's not much choice. It's whatever's coming down the river is what you get. But somewhere around, right after Shades of Blue, actually, I kind of remember thinking to myself, and I had a conversation with my team, and I said, I think we should be very careful, because I made some choices that were not because I particularly liked the project, but because this person is in it, this will raise my profile, or this or this, or this or that, or this producer is doing this other movie next, let's do this tiny role so that we make an impression. And then, I was playing these weird games, and I got to a place where I was like, no, like I don't want to do that anymore. And I just kind of told myself, you have a choice. You always have a choice. I think that's the weird illusion that we have. We always just feel like we're at the mercy of whatever is out there. And we always feel like, oh man, like I just got to hustle and get, like start with God. Father God, this is the type of stories I want to tell. This turns me on creatively. And then being able to say no, even when you can't make that next month's rent, no, I'm not doing that.
Listen. Oh my God.
Right after Shades of Blue, I kind of made a concerted effort that, okay, then I told my team after Shades of Blue, my next role is going to be a lead. I don't care. The next thing has to be a lead. I just felt like I was ready for that. And that's how Emperor came around. I was like, I just want to carry a picture. I want to know I can do it. I want to know I can lead a movie. And so we did that. And then I kind of had this mandate in my mind that, like, I don't want to go. We have a call sheet, right? You're number 1 to number 2, the top billing. And I was like, I'm going for number 1 every single time. If I'm not number 1 on the call sheet, whoever is number 1 has to be an A-lister. That was our mandate. So it's either you're number 1 or you're number 2, 3, 4, 5 to an A-lister, and that was our mandate. So that's why right after Emperor, I think the next thing I did was, oh my God, I'm getting my credits right now, but I think like right after Emperor, I think I did like Fresh, which was Sebastian Stan and Daisy.
Queen Pen.
Queen Pins as well,
I'm
right?
looking at IMDb.
Which
I
was
loved you in that
Vince
movie.
Vaughn, yeah. And Queen Pins was like, ooh, Vince Vaughn. My sisters and I, we love Vince Vaughn. We grew up watching like Wedding Crashers and all his movies. So to be able to just do a scene with him, I was like, ooh, I want to do this movie. So that was why we did that. And then, you know, Hypnotic was Ben Affleck and Alicia Braga, like we're doing that. And then Run Sweetheart Run was because I'd done this movie called Endless Love with Shauna Festi. She directed that movie back in the day. Whenever Shauna calls me, I'm gonna show up, whether I'm number 1 or number 13. So that one, you go, okay, cool, it's Shauna. But yeah, that's what it was. We're working with the best filmmakers that we can work with. We're working with actors that we're really excited about and telling stories we're really excited about. So even when Dark Matter came around, then there was C. I did a show called C on Apple TV, and it was.
Yes, I remember seeing. Apple TV was like, we missed out. Let's book him because you've done like 2 projects with Apple right now. So.
Yeah. So when Dark Matter came around, it was Joel Edgerton and Jennifer Connelly. I said, "Yep, let's go." So you just have to decide what you want your career to look like, and God is real. God is real. You don't have to have the pathway. You don't need to know who Steven Spielberg is. You don't need to know who Denis Villeneuve is or who all these people are. If you want to work with them, let it be known in your heart. Let it be known to God, and then just make the simplest decisions every day that get you in that direction. Period. It will happen. End of story. And you will look crazy. People will look dumb. You will tell people your dream. They'll look at you left, right. Let them look however they want to look. It's your life. Only you can live your life. So just
Absolutely. It
worked for me so far. So if what you're doing is working for you and you're agnostic or atheist, go right ahead. My thing is, I believe as a Christian man, like what I love about scripture is that it says that people should look at you and wonder, what is that person doing? Your life should be a manifestation or the physical manifestation of your salvation, of your spiritual walk. So you don't have to have a bullhorn. You don't have to evangelize, right? I love in scripture where it says, don't be like those that rip their clothes in the synagogue or shout from the top of their lungs, who perform their faith. The Bible says, truly, I tell you, they've received their reward in full. But instead, go into the quiet of your room and ask your God earnestly for what you desire. And I promise you, He will give anything according to you.
Let me find out you a pastor. All right, Pastor Dayo. Okay.
Yeah, it's the truth. And so I think it's like, just your faith with God is a solitary walk. And the evidence of it will just show in your life. And when people are reaching, they'll come out, what's your secret? Then evangelize, then tell them what it is.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it reaches people more than just shaking somebody on the street and say, change your life, come to God. I think you can't force people to have a
exactly.
So anyway, that's just what I have.
No, your journey has been amazing, and I love the fact that you are not afraid to talk about like your faith, especially in a place like Hollywood where sometimes there's concern about, if I talk about faith, is it going to affect my ability to book gigs or book roles? So I'm really appreciative of the fact that you stand forth, like stand firm and say, hey, this is the only reason why I'm here. It's not because of what I did. It's literally because I have someone called Jesus, and that's who has been my support system in all of this. And I think that's amazing. And so, yeah, I have a couple more questions. In terms of all of the characters that you played, what would you say has been your most favorite? Because I'm sure, obviously all your roles are good, but I'm sure that there was one, and it's not just because you were cast as a character, but maybe it was the audition process that you really enjoyed, or maybe it was the cast, or just even the location that you shot in. There has to be a movie that you would say, that was my most favorite character to play, or maybe it challenged you as an actor because you had to, show range that you've never shown before. What was that role or character for you, if you would just think about it?
It's, oh my God. I'm actually having a very crazy out-of-body experience right now because I can see Dayo in my mind at like 18, 19 with nothing, with no experience. And the fact that I can sit here and I have to think about it and go through is crazy to me. I still cannot believe. And listen, I'm not a movie star. Like, I think I'm a very decent character actor, right? And the fact that I have a career that's enough where I can think back and go, oh, which one is it's incredible. I'm almost to move to tears, but they've all. I'm very lucky in this business. I've had the pleasure of working with truly great, kind people. You know, Hunger Games will always be amazing because it was Jennifer Lawrence, it was Liam Hemsworth, it was Gary Ross, it was Jack Quaid, who's killing it on The Boys right now. It was Amanda Stenberg. It was that group was so amazing, man, and we were all just novices. We were all just getting started. It was that set was just so full of enthusiasm and excitement, and we just wanted to be great. And so that one will always come to mind. But in terms of like being on a set where you go, whoa, okay, wow, um, this is a privilege or honor. Emperor was amazing to lead a picture. And one thing I'll tell you about black folks, man, like that was a predominantly black cast, you know, and Notori Norton, who's on, you know, she plays Tasha on Power, she's known for that. Or Michael T. Williams, who's Bubba Gump from you know, Forrest Gump, or you know, these heavy hitting black actors were on that movie, and you know, it was my first lead role. So I kind of was a little bit nervous because one, I wanted to be great, but also I wanted them to feel like that they could trust me to lead a movie. And I tell you, every single person on that movie, even Bruce Dern, right, Laura Dern's father, who's on that movie, they were like, Dayo, you're the guy. Like everybody supported me on that movie. Everybody. Cat Williams, not Cat Williams. Oh my God, what's Cat's last name?
Cat Graham.
Even Cat came in, and Cat's resume is crazy. But even she came in and she was like, Dayo, you know, this is a great role, and you know, we're here to support you. Like everybody was so supportive on that. So that was such a great feeling to be at the head of something. You have the support of your team. But like everyone, you know, even working on Shades of Blue, which is your favorite, you know, Jennifer Lopez. Listen, say what you say about her, and I know she gets flack for all this crazy stuff on social media. That woman was kind to me, bro. She was kind to me. And I worked with her for 3 years. If she was pretending to be a good person, she did a really great job. Because she was kind to me, kind to everybody in that production, super professional, showed up, did her job, had her kids on set all the time. She was about her business and about being a mother. So like I've just had the fortune of working with really, really great people. And even the job that I'm on now, man, across the board, the Sony people, Matt Tomac and David Manspearl, our producers, and Jackie and Blake Crouch, the writer and showrunner, and Alicia Braga, Jennifer, Joel, you know, Oaks, Jimmy Simpson, everybody on that cast has been incredible. So I know this sounds crazy and trite and a little corny, but I've truly just enjoyed being a part of every project I've had a chance to be a part of. Everybody was special. Even Vince Vaughn was incredibly warm and welcoming.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I'm just fortunate. Yeah.
No, and we're really just excited to just keep seeing more projects that you're going to be working on. And so obviously now it's Black History Month, and you know.
I'm so sorry. Alex is saying Rise. Yeah, Rise was great.
That was where I was going to segue into right now, because I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Rise.
My two sons, Raul Agata and Uche Agata, just booked a new show on Netflix. It's like a basketball show with Jennifer Hudson. Okay. Show. So you guys check that show out. Yeah, Rise was great. We shot that in Greece, for goodness sakes. It was amazing.
Tell us about that. How did that project land on your laps? Because that was what I was going to ask. Because like obviously now you're seeing more stories from the continent, you know, Africa, Nigeria coming out, and you're seeing a lot more Nigerian actors that are playing these roles, authentic, you know, African roles. And so obviously you had the opportunity, obviously, to talk to bring to life the character Charles Adetokunbo. Obviously, that's the right pronunciation. And he was the father of Yanis Adetokunbo. And so obviously that like I think it was during the pandemic. I think the movie came out during the pandemic. So obviously we're all at home and like, okay, there's a new show on TV. Let's watch. So I was just like, hey, tell us about how that project kind of landed on your lap, because I'm sure that was like playing a Yoruba man.
Yeah, so we were deep in the pandemic. This was 2020. Nobody was working. The whole world was shut down. And I remember Disney did a investors call. I'm a nerd about our industry. I read all the trades, Deadline, Hollywood, THR. I read everything, right? So of course, when Disney had an investor day presentation, I was watching like as if I'm an investor. So I'm watching, and they're basically talking about their slate, what they're getting ready to do, and they announced Disney Plus. It's going to be a new streaming service, and they were like, they want to tell stories from everywhere, all over the world. And they mentioned, it's so funny now to think about it, they mentioned two projects that I'm actually a part of, and at the time had no connection to it. So I remember they mentioned they were going to do a movie about Giannis Antetokounmpo, talking about his rise to fame. And I was like, ooh, Nigerians are in there. There must be something for me. And
You understand?
and then I remember they also announced Iwaju. And this presentation is online. You can go and watch it online. It's a Disney Day Investor Presentation 2020. So they announced Iwaju and they announced Rise on that. And I remember called my agent and my manager, hey, there are these two projects, but they're so sharp. Whenever I call my agents, my managers to tell them this, they're like, all right, we know. Like they're, so like, I'm like, okay, I'm just letting you guys know, just to be sure. So I remember I kind of knew those were out there. And then I got an audition so Rise came around first. I got an audition for Rise, and it was to play Giannis. And I said, what? Yeah, and then I called my agent, my Brian, are you being funny? Bro, like, I can't play Giannis. And he's like, oh, sorry, we sent you the wrong breakdown. Okay. His assistant messed up. So I get the next one, and they're like, we want you to play his father. And I go, Brian, I can't play that. His dad's like 40 years old. Like, and he's like, no, they want to tell, the story is kind of really more about his parents. And they're going to cover his father from like his late 20s till his 40s. So the character has to grow on screen. So they do want somebody in the middle. Okay. I said, okay, so man, that was an audition. I think I auditioned for Rise like 6 times. It was just wow. Go back. So that was a long audition. And then I booked that role. I was going back to shoot season 2 of C in Vancouver, and I was in quarantine in a hotel. And I got a call in the morning that I had an NAACP nomination for Emperor. And I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. I'm so excited. And then I dropped the phone, and literally 2 seconds later, I pick up the phone, and it's Aki Omosusho, who was the director of that movie, and he offered me Rise on the phone. You're kidding. So there's something about my life where whenever the greatest news happens, I'm by myself and I can't go anywhere. Because I was in quarantine. I was in quarantine in Vancouver for C, because at that time, there was a thing where you would fly, if you had to film something, you'd fly and everybody has to quarantine for 7 days before you can be on set. Yeah. So I remember getting those 2 pieces of information while in quarantine, so that was funny. And then we shot that movie in Greece, and then it came out the following year on Disney Plus. And then for Iwaju was offered to me because I had done a voice audition for Mufasa, for Lion King. I did an audition for... Yeah. We would have been singing, hey, Dayo. I don't know how to remix that song. No, okay, we're going to find a song for you. Aaron is actually the homie. Shout out to Aaron. Aaron should be on this. Aaron, what you doing, bro? You should jump on this. Exactly. It was, I auditioned for Mufasa. Yeah, that's the truth. Wow. Okay. And I didn't get it. Aaron got it. It's okay. But Disney, I think, listened to that audition, and they were like, oh, let's bring it. I don't know how that happened. And then through that audition, I got offered Iwaju. So that was like one of those things where, yeah, you might be gunning for one thing, and God says, no, that's not for you. This is for you. Mm-hmm. So that's how the whole thing came. But yeah, there were both things that I saw in the Disney Investor Day, and I was like, there got to be something in there for me. But it's interesting that Rise was the first time that I played a Nigerian in my career. Really? I've never played until that moment. Yeah. So, and I haven't played one since. Can I give this information? No, I can't quite yet. I'll hold on to this one. But yeah, Rise and Iwaju are the only times I've played Nigerian, and something might be in the works. Something might be in the works. Okay, so please let us know. We'll be on the lookout looking for that. Yeah. And so, what are your thoughts now? Obviously, with the rise in like a lot of Hollywood movies telling African stories, and like you said, you've been privileged now to at least play 2 Nigerian men, which obviously that's amazing. Like, what are your thoughts on the way Hollywood is telling our stories? Do you think, you know what, we're getting better at telling the African stories? Do you think there's still we still have a long ways to go? Or do you think that, you know what, the journey is making progress? What are your thoughts on that? The journey is definitely making progress. I mean, the journey is definitely, the fact that Disney would make a very specific story about a Nigerian experience. And I remember when we were recording Iwaju, they were like, don't try to make it sound American. Like, don't say it as authentically as the father would talk. Don't because there's Nigerian accents. Then there's Nigerian accents.
Yeah, them don't
So
black accents. Hey.
but the great thing with Tunde Martins, that character, was he grew up in Oju Elegba. So when we do flashbacks in Iwaju of him younger, he's rough, So we could have the accent be as thick as possible. But he's also code switch. He's been code switching. So, when he moves to the island and he becomes this very rich tech billionaire, he's also trying to get them a little bit.
Exactly.
So we really gave it that much nuance, and I think Disney in the making of that, like, really tried to be as authentic as possible. And I was always shocked because that's unusual. That's a studio that has a mandate to try and do something. And to me, that's a sign of progress. But I will still say there's still a long way to go. I think I still have meetings where producers can't quite tell the difference between the African American or an African in America. Like, I'm not an African American. I'm an African. Like, I just happen to live in America. I've lived in America for a while. I technically I'm American now because I'm an American citizen, but I still don't quite quantify my experience to be the African American experience. I think I'm an African who became an American, and I think there's nuance in that. So with me, the type of stories that I want to tell are stories that speak to that nuance. You know what I mean? And speak to that inner thread of that diaspora experience. And I think that's the next wave. Things like Black Panther, The Woman King, they kind of show that we are box office worthy, and the industry goes, okay, we can invest money there, and then now we should dive in and tell more nuanced stories within that space. So that I'm excited about, but there's still a lot to be mined. I mean, I'm working on a project that I'm getting ready to produce. And yeah, you got to hold these producers' hands and tell them, okay, this is what, this mythology in Nigeria means. This is how we're going to connect this to the American experience. It's very unusual. You might not understand it, but just feel it. Okay. Just feel it kind of thing. So yeah.
No, that's good. And I think it's even Yemi that's just talked about the movie adaptation. Now I think of Blood. I think it's Blood, Children of the Blood, and what's it called, Yemi? So yeah. So I mean, and I think that's also by, if I'm not mistaken, a Nigerian author as well, right? So I mean, I think Viola Davis. I think that's being produced by Viola Davis, and I think that's, or am I mixing up the stories? I know that there's one movie a book that Viola Davis just recently is adapting, and there's a whole cast of, like, there's some Nigerians. I think Damson is in that one. I think Idris Elba is in that one, and it's really exciting that Africans and Nigerians are getting cast in those roles as well. So yeah.
That one, it's so funny. Speaking of, like, when that news broke that Damson and Tosin and all those guys are going to be in the movie, they go, Dayo, why didn't they put you in that one? Guys, I'm not available. Like, I'm shooting Dark Matter right now. We're going to be shooting till August. So that's one where, when it came, you just got to go, I can't even compete because I'm not available. I'm not available to do Children of Blood and Bone. But, like, yeah, it's so funny. People call me thinking like they're trying to give me news that I didn't have before. It's like, guys, you can't have it all. Like, I would literally have to leave my TV show to do that. I'm not going to do that because I love this show so much. But yeah, I wish them the best of luck. But I think, and I know there's been a little bit of chatter that people are like, oh, why didn't they get, like, people who are from Nigeria for the Nigerian experience of it all, yada, yada, yada. And I can understand that. I know Nollywood has produced a lot of great actors in that. But people need to remember that Tomi's representation of Nigeria is a fantasy. It's a fantasy. I mean, you have Ilorin surrounded by water in that book. So if you've been to Ilorin like I have, not much water around there. So you gotta have to understand, like, she's doing something that's fantasy based. And I think, it is a business to be able to make a movie like that at the level where you want to make it. You need to have Black talent that can get asses in seats, like producers would say. But I think they did a very decent job getting as many Nigerians in there. People forget that.
So too.
Tosin is Nigerian, Cynthia Erivo is Nigerian. Chiwetel Ejiofor is Nigerian. Yeah, they're not like me in the sense that they weren't born in Nigeria and raised in Nigeria. But guys, they're Nigerian. They have Nigerian parents. They have Nigerian experience. You know, it's not the Nigerian experience. But I think when we get hung up in nonsense fights like that, it doesn't do us any service. But trust me, that project will come along where I have a dream to cast like truly legacy Nigerian actors in something. You know what I mean? Like that's like, you know, and the story will be right for it, and the budget will be right for it. Because sometimes you can get the Damsons and the Idris Elbas, and because Idris is a part of that as well, and the budget will be this, and you get to tell the story as great as possible. Or you can go, I'm sad to say this, but like, and Hollywood has been doing this to us for years, you can go and cast locally and cast the best local actors, and they'll all be underpaid. And what I want is to get to a place where we can make that movie in Nigeria with Nigerian talent and pay them exactly what their worth really is. And I think that's the next step. That's where we get to where we go, okay, you get Nigerian actors telling a great story and everybody's getting cashed out in a great way. Because it is a business. It is show business, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but as actors, we love this so much that a lot of times you'll find yourself going, yo, I don't care about the money. Da, 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 da. Calm down.
Relax. That's a big deal. So, I mean, obviously, this is so amazing. And for me, I guess, like I said, I'm excited to see some of the new projects that you're going to work on. And just before we wrap up, I also wanted us to kind of talk about PVO, positive vibes only. So I don't think a lot of people know that you have this venture. And so I figured, why not talk about it? Before we wrap up, just talk a little bit about what PVO is. And like I already explained, it's called Positive Vibes Only. And this is your baby. And I know that you have a co-founder. So do you want to just talk a little bit about what that is and what made you start it and what's the point, or what's the deal with PVO?
Absolutely. Shout out to my partners, Chidu Bemude, and Chinasa Nas in the world. PVO is about 7 years now. It was a venture that was really the brainchild of my partner Nas. I moved to LA I moved to New York at the time. I was shooting Shades of Blue. And we all kind of connected, and you know, we kind of were like, listen, we're four like ambitious, handsome, smart Nigerian guys, and you know, we should do something. You know, we're great friends, but you know, the whole thing of like, show me your friends and I'll show you a future type of a deal. And so Nas was like, listen, we're gonna meet, or rather, I think it was Chi, I can't remember who he was like, we're gonna meet at this spot called the Whiskey Room somewhere in like Soho, New York. You guys bring your ideas, we'll all bring ideas, and we'll sit down and brainstorm. We should do something. You know, and we all met, and this is why you should have friends who are smarter than you. And my partner, she was like, yo, there's a thing called crypto. I think we should get into it. You know, let's buy some crypto, which we did. He showed me how to do it. We bought like Bitcoin at the time and like Ethereum and some other things and made some good money. So shout out to Chief for that. He was the first person who really got me into crypto. And then Nas was like, guys, I don't know what it is, but whatever we do, we got to call it Positive Vibes Only. He said it just like that. We're like, yo, what? That name goes so crazy, PVO. And we're like, what should it be? What should it be? And we're like, you know, we should do events. You know, we've gone to a couple of events, and there's nothing that irritates me more than a poorly run event where you get there and at the door, where's the standard line? Where's VIP? What's this? Where's my table? The table is lost. Just chaos. So like, no, we should do an event. We should make it an event. It should be a celebration of Black folks. It should be a celebration of culture, creating a safe space for Black people to be themselves and to network. We wanted to change how networking events were. And then we also wanted to have a charitable component to it as well, where, you know, we should try and work with local NGOs in the different places we go to. You know, so in DC, we've done many events, and PVO events in DC, in New York, in London, in LA, in Ghana, which is our biggest event. We do a New Year's Eve party in conjunction with Afrofuture. We just did a couple of events in South Africa this January. In Atlanta as well. So PVO has really, really grown. And then we'll try and partner with a local NGO. Like in Nigeria, a few years ago, we partnered with African Health Now, which they have this mandate to mitigate the infant mortality rate in Nigeria, which is really high for no reason. And then there's also, I partner with RED. I'm a RED ambassador. So RED is a not-for-profit that was started with Bobby Shriver and Bono in the 90s to combat AIDS and malaria in South Africa. And now they've added COVID because COVID was so disruptive to the charity pipeline that they had to adopt it as well.
Okay.
And then my lady is texting me. I gotta go do something at 12:30. And then there's also Cool Kids, which is an urban outreach program in New York that we work with, and distant relatives in DC as well. They give haircuts to the homeless and feed the homeless. So
that's amazing.
Around it, and then we do a mental health dinner for men. Right, we also want to dispel this thing with Black men where we don't talk about our mental health and we don't seek to help professionally, and we just want to break those stigmas down. And that was a mandate that my partner Nas has been very, very serious about. And we have a brunch for women called the Pioneer Brunch, because when we look at our numbers, PVO is without a doubt supported more by women constantly. You know, more get sections at our events, more women purchase tickets. So it was only right that we did an event that was almost like giving women their flowers and praising them and really thanking them for the role they've played in PVO over the years. So we do a brunch called the Pioneer Brunch, yeah, so PVO is a whole bunch of different things. You know, we had a podcast for a while during the pandemic, and it's just a brand that's about positivity and, you know, and highlighting the agenda that Black is beautiful, no matter what is going on in the political landscape or out there in the world. We matter. We move the needle. We are the culture. We move culture. We're not trying to be cocky or, you know, boastful about it. It's just the truth. African culture is everything right now. If you look at music, if you look at Amapiano, Afro beats, you know, if you look at art, I was just at Art Basel last year. African art is killing it. If you look at what Okeniyi is doing. And so it's just creating a space that promotes that and loves that in every way. And it's just proud to be. Awesome. We're not excluding anybody. You know what I'm saying? I think the thing is sometimes when people see brands that are so Black led, they think it's like no, this is not a space for you if you're Asian, white, whatever other. No, we're basically saying it's what we're doing over here. If you try to be with this program, come through.
Exactly.
You know, so there's a thing with like people when Black History Month comes around and there are all these mandates to like talk about the Black experience. People go, oh well, that's not for us. And no, we're not doing that. You know, we're highlighting us, and if you want to be an ally, come through. So PVO is, and I'm so proud of the work that we've been able to do and creating that space and creating a brand that really that has a feeling with people. You know, my partner Chi always says, you know, people won't, it's a Maya Angelou quote, but he's used it in the past when he says, you know, people won't remember what you did for them necessarily. People just remember how you made them feel. And I think PVO is one of those brands where like, whenever you run into somebody, I have a PVO hat on or a hoodie on or something, oh my God, I was at your party, man, bro, that party was, that's such a great feeling. When somebody came to your event and had a great time, it's such an amazing feeling. So yeah, that's what we do with PVO.
No, that is amazing. And hopefully I'm really like, I keep following PVO events and I'm like, I have to attend one of these events one day. I think you guys had one in Toronto, or you're planning to have one in Toronto. I can't remember.
We've been trying to for a while now. We're trying to do like we're trying to do what you call it, a carnival out there. But for some reason, they never able to quite make it work. But Toronto, it will happen at some point. It's a bit too cold.
All right.
We'll pick the 1 week you have.
Relax. Come in the summer. It's not that cold. Come in the summer. It's not that cold. Anyway, I see Chi is giving you a shout out. He's like, love you, King. First of all, can I just appreciate Black men that are okay to be like, love you, man. Like, that's just amazing.
You got to tell
that's amazing.
You got to. It's so important, you know what I mean? Like, to just be very comfortable in that and just be like, I love you. Because it's so funny how, like, yo, sometimes you go, whoa, like, you realize, like, man, somebody hasn't told me I love you in such a long time. I'm not trying to be corny or weird or anything like that, but, like, it's one of those things where when you hear it, as a Black man, I can attest that we don't hear stuff like that very often. So when you hear it, it kind of catches you off guard because you realize, like, yo, I don't get this in my life. So yeah, it's important. It's important. And all my friend group, all the homies were very comfortable with that. Very comfortable with that.
And I love that for you guys. And I'm hoping that this will also be a motivation for other men to be able to tell their homeboys, like, hey, you know, I love you, man. Like, just because we got to appreciate people while they're here, because every day you hear someone just had a heart attack or someone did this and someone did that. Tomorrow's our promise, and we really need to be appreciating our friends, our loved ones, our family while they're here. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, So, I mean, I know you have to go, and so I just want to say thank you. But is there anything that you have coming down the pipeline that we should be on the lookout for? Whether it's a movie or TV, another TV show, another project, PVO, tell us so that we can
Yeah.
make sure that everyone is following and keeping abreast of what's happening. So,
When I'm seeing somebody asking like, "What shows do you watch?" I watch everything. I fancy myself the Tom Brady of acting. I watch game tape, so I'm constantly watching everything. What are they doing? What's because you want to learn. Acting is also about just like seeing what other actors are doing and being. I think it was like Stanislavski that said, "Be the greatest thief out there." Somebody does something great, like, I'm going to do that. So I watch everything. But right now, Paradise has been amazing. I've been loving Paradise.
oh, that's
Uh,
the one with Sterling
yeah,
K. Brown, right?
yeah, Sterling K. Brown. Presumed Innocence was one of my favorites. Shout out to OT.
Jake Gyllenhaal, that movie.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
top tier, top tier. But yeah, I really do watch almost everything. House of the Dragon, The Penguin was incredible. I love The Penguin as well on HBO. And yeah, I really try to watch everything. Not only am I an actor, I love actors and I love film and I love TV shows, so I watch everything. But in terms of what we're doing next, I just got to Chicago a couple of weeks ago. I was very fortunate on my show Dark Matter on Apple TV Plus got a second season. So we're very excited. We've started shooting. So I'm here in Chicago doing that. We're going to be shooting till August. So that should come out sometime next year. So
Okay.
yeah, this season is going to be mad. It's going to be absolutely mad.
All right. And then PBO, when's your next PBO event? You've done PBO events in Lagos, have you?
Yeah, we've had in Lagos. Yeah, we've had 3 in Lagos, and we might be coming back to Lagos this year. We might be.
All right, all the people in Lagos, you hear this now.
We're having some conversations, and we might be bringing PBO back to Lagos. But yeah, we have PBO New York coming pretty soon. We're literally getting ready to drop some material about that in July. It's going to be a pool party and brunch. Completely different type vibe. So New York needs some like a different summer take. We're trying to change.
Dayo, I'm available for travel. I don't think you understand. Why are you not booking me for these events? I'm available for travel.
For love. New York
You will hear
needs
it. You should tell him I'm coming to the tri-state area. I'm coming. So let me know. I will pull through. Don't worry. Anyways, I really appreciate you, honest to God, because I know that you're booked and busy. But the fact that someone's asking about PBO in London. Have you done England yet? London?
Yeah, we did London. We did London a couple of summers ago. We did PBO, and it was a collaboration with us in DLT, as well as with Afrofuture. We did a summer in London a couple years ago. That went crazy. It went up. This was we did it at a spot called Proud Lake. So yeah, London. We're definitely going to come back to London. Hopefully this summer as well.
Okay.
We'll come back to London. The thing is PBO. With me and my partners, we all have different things. My brother Nas does something else. My brother Chi does something else. I do something else. And so PBO is a side hustle, but it's getting so big that we kind of have to. We might have to start hiring people to because it was a passion thing that we did on the side. But guys are getting old, man, and PBO is a young man's game. So yeah, London. We're getting married. My partner Chi, is a father. So we it's getting hard to make all these PBOs happen, but we still we're trying to find out a way to do that and start our lives on the side.
All right. Well, I want to say again, I so appreciate you for taking the time. I feel like we probably might have to do another one of these just to even talk more about like the PBO stuff, because you definitely talked about things like mental health and I feel like those are things that are really important for us to discuss. So I'm going to hit you up and maybe we're going to try and find another time that works and really kind of delve into that as well. But just thank you for your time today. I appreciate you, and we are rooting for you. Like, there's obviously people in the chats, your family, your friends, and then even those of us that are just your fans. We appreciate the fact that you are giving positive representation as a Nigerian in Hollywood and as a man of faith. So we are like, you know what? We'll keep praying for you, with you. And I just want to say thank you for your time today. And everyone, please show some love to Dayo, and please make sure that you're following Dayo. Make sure you're following PVO. I think, is it PVO or PVO Global? I know you have 2 pages.
PVO Global is the company. PVO is the event. Positive Vibes Only is the event. But PVO Global is our company. And yeah, you can follow us at PVO Global on Instagram for sure.
All right, so make sure you're following those pages just so that you can get more information and more updates, especially if you're looking for an event that might come to your city. Make sure you're doing that. And on that note, I wanted to say thank you, because Dayo, this is the end, at least of these Black History series. This has been this has been a journey for me. I wanted to say thank you to everyone that has come on every live since the first one. It's been nerve-wracking, but you know what? I made it through, and hopefully there'll be more opportunity to do this. I want to say thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Big shout out to Dayo. Shout out to your friends that have been on the space.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, but our PVO page is just about to hit 10,000 followers. So we need one more person, y'all. One more person, go follow PVO.
Please, go ahead so that he can hit the mark.
We need that.
All right, guys. I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much, Dayo. And we will definitely be doing another one of these to talk more about like PVO and all the good, amazing charitable ventures that you guys are doing. Yes, and that's it, guys. It's a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Dayo.
Thank you.
All right, God bless you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Dayo. Kiss.
Absolutely. Positive vibes only.
Positive vibes only.